The billionaire is shocked as his son speaks for the first time after a janitor sings in Italian. Victor Fontaine's world was built on silence, expensive silence, controlled silence. His penthouse in Manhattan gleamed with cold luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, but inside, everything was muted. Except for one truth. His son, Ethan, had never spoken a word. 13 years of quiet, each day like a locked vault in Victor's perfectly ordered life. But tonight, that vault exploded. Leo, the building's janitor, was singing. Not the usual hum or whistle as he mopped the marble floors. No, Leo was singing in clear, rich Italian, a song that floated up from the stairwell like a secret carried on the night air. It was raw, aching, alive. Ethan stood by the elevator, drawn to the sound like a moth to a flame. Victor's jaw tightened. He watched, helpless. Then it happened. Ethan's lips parted, and a voice came out, clear, tender. "Bella, Luna," he whispered. The words hung there in the penthouse, like a crack in the ice. Victor's heart slammed in his chest. His hands trembled. The years of silence, the walls he'd built around himself and his son, shattered in an instant. The room seemed to tilt. The sharp edges of wealth and control blurred into chaos. Leo kept singing, unaware of the earthquake he'd set off. His Italian melody became a key, unlocking a part of Ethan that no doctor or therapy had reached. Ethan's eyes widened with something new. Hope? Fear? The room was thick with tension, the silence afterward almost deafening. Victor stepped forward, his voice low but woven with panic. "Ethan, what are you doing?" His words felt fragile, dangerous, but Ethan's gaze was fixed on Leo. This stranger, this janitor, who carried nothing but a mop and an old leather notebook holding his songs, had cracked through years of silence. Neighbors peered from their doors, whispers rippling through the building like wildfire. "Did you hear that? Since when does the kid talk? That janitor, what's he doing in Victor Fontaine's penthouse?" Victor felt exposed, naked under the weight of watching eyes and his son's unexpected voice. His carefully stitched image began to fray. He wanted to pull Ethan back into silence, to drag Leo away, to fix everything before it spiraled. But Ethan, for the first time, looked alive, human. The silence wasn't just absence, it was armor. Now that it was broken, the pain below it spilled out, as Leo's soft voice carried on. Victor felt the gnawing fear that this wasn't just about talking. It was about losing control, losing Ethan to something unpolished, real, and frighteningly outside the glass fortress Victor had built. Yet beneath the shock, there was a thread of something else, a glimmer of relief in Ethan's trembling hands, a catch in Victor's throat he couldn't swallow. The chaos was terrifying, but maybe, just maybe, it was the start of something he'd been too afraid to want. Then Victor noticed a small, folded paper peeking out. Questions flooded Victor's mind in a rush. What does it say? How deep does this go? What secrets will it reveal about Ethan, about them? Victor's breath hitched, and the night held its breath too. Hey, before you continue with this incredible story, I have an important warning for you. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube has removed their subscriptions without warning. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content. And while you're there, leave that powerful like. It helps me a lot with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love meeting all the amazing people who are part of this community. Your participation makes a difference. Let's interact. Victor's breath hitched, the night feeling impossibly still. Eyes darted to Leo, still singing, the notes weaving through the air like strands of a fractured web. But it was that crumpled paper in Leo's pocket that gnawed at him, pulling his gaze back. The curiosity mixed with dread. What could it mean? A sudden noise broke the moment. A loud crash echoed from the stairwell, the sound of something heavy hitting the floor. Everyone turned, whispers vibrating through the hallway like static electricity. Victor's stomach twisted. What now? Stay here, he barked, half to Ethan, half to the group of wide-eyed onlookers who crept closer, curiosity overcoming caution. He moved cautiously toward the stairwell, heart pounding. As he reached the door, it swung open with a deafening creak. Shadows danced around the edge, and a figure stumbled into view. It was a woman, disheveled, wild-eyed, her clothes torn and dirty. She clutched a wrinkled piece of paper in her hand, the same size as the note in Leo's pocket. "Victor, you have to listen!" Her voice was frantic, guttural, like a siren. The crowd tightened behind him, their murmurs spiraling into a frenzy. "Who are you?" Victor demanded, feeling the walls of his carefully built life cracking. I'm Sophie," she gasped, breathless. "You have to understand. Ethan, he's not—" "Not what?" Victor pressed, the words hanging in the air, heavy with unspeakable truths. A mix of fear and confusion clouding his thoughts. But before she could respond, Ethan broke free from the penthouse. "Dad!" he shouted, his voice soaring high, panic lacing his tone. He had stepped toward the wild woman, drawn to her like a magnet. "Who are you?" Victor's heart sank, ice forming in his veins. What does she know about Ethan? Sophie's eyes softened when she saw Ethan. "You're so much like your mother," she whispered. "She loved you so much." The air thickened with tension. Victor felt the world tilt. His head spun, and for a brief moment, he was lost in confusion. "What do you mean?" he pressed, his voice steady, but betraying the chaos inside. Sophie took a step closer. She couldn't speak either, you know, but she wrote. She left messages for you, for him. She lifted her trembling hand, revealing the crumpled note. "This is from her." A murmur swept through the crowd, disbelief mingling with something darker, more sinister. "What are you saying?" Victor demanded again, voice rising. "My wife has been gone for years. This is absurd." Ethan stared at Sophie, then back at Victor, his expression caught between shock and longing. "Mom?" he whispered. And Victor's gut twisted. And then came the shock. Sophie stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "She's alive, Victor. Alive. She's in hiding, and she's been looking for you both." The murmurs exploded into chaos. Victor staggered, pressing a hand to the wall for support. His mind raced with disbelief, with hope, with questions. Could it be true? Could everything he knew be a lie? And then, as if on cue, Leo's voice pierced the tumult, making everyone freeze. "Wait, there's something you need to know." The world around Victor fell silent, dread creeping back in. A thick curtain made of uncertainty. What could Leo possibly reveal? And how deep did this rabbit hole go? The night hung heavy, pregnant with secrets, and the answers loomed just beyond reach. The world around Victor froze, anticipation hanging like fog in the air. Leo's voice cut through the chaos, drawing everyone's focus. "Wait, there's something you need to know," he said, his tone suddenly grave. The crowd shifted, restless, as if sensing the weight of his words. Ethan stood beside Sophie, eyes wide, heart racing, caught between the two adults. Victor's mind reeled. What could Leo possibly say that would change everything again? "Ethan, there's something you don't know about your mother." Leo's voice broke slightly, and the tension thickened, twisting in Victor's gut. Her silence wasn't just a choice. There's a reason she couldn't speak. Murmurs erupted among the onlookers. "What? Are you serious?" Victor's irritation simmered, pulling him to the edge of fury. "What are you talking about? My wife made her choices. We all have to live with them." "No, Victor." Leo raised his voice, cutting through the noise. "You don't understand. She was silenced by forces that go far deeper than just words." Ethan listened intently, his brow furrowing. "What forces? Who is she really?" His voice, though unsteady, was stronger than Victor had ever heard before. A tense heartbeat passed. Leo's eyes darted around before settling back on Victor. Before she vanished, she was involved in something dangerous. Something she wanted to protect you and Ethan from at all costs. "What are you saying?" Victor's chest tightened. "You're scaring him." Then Leo took a deep breath, his gaze locking onto Victor's. She was a part of something that involved powerful people. People who don't play around. The crowd shifted again, fear blooming like wildflowers. Sophie stepped forward, clutching the note tightly. "That's why she hid. To keep you safe. To keep Ethan safe." Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the stairwell, like a shot fired in a packed room. Everyone recoiled, gasps rising, panic igniting like a match to kindling. The door swung open again, this time harder, revealing a dark figure. Victor squinted, dread pooling in his stomach. It was a man, tall and menacing, his face obscured by shadows. "I told you to keep away from my family." His voice was low yet sharp, slicing through the air like a blade. "Who are you?" Victor shouted, stepping forward to protect Ethan. His heart raced, hammering loud enough for everyone to hear. The man stepped into the light. Shocked gasps followed as he revealed a familiar face. It was David, Victor's estranged brother. Everyone knew the story. He had vanished years ago, leaving a trail of chaos in his wake. David? Victor's mind spun. What are you doing here? You shouldn't be. How did you find us? Because it's all connected, David hissed, eyes burning. You've been living a lie, brother. Ethan is in danger. Before Victor could respond, David lunged toward them, and chaos erupted. Screams filled the hallway as the people scattered, shoving against one another in a frantic rush for the exit. Sophie grabbed Ethan's arm, pulling him close. We need to leave, she urged. But Victor stood frozen, gaze locked on David. His world, already shaken by secrets, was spiraling into an abyss of unknowns. Tell me the truth, he yelled, desperation clawing at his throat. What do you mean? What's going on? But David's expression twisted with something darker than Victor had ever seen. You've kept him from knowing for too long. What's going to happen next is out of our hands, and there's still so much you don't understand. As David reached for Ethan, Victor felt terror grip him, and just like that, everything spiraled anew, the tenuous grip on their lives threatened by the shadows of their past. The truth waited, riddled with danger and deception, yet veiled in uncertainty. Answers tumbled in on themselves as Victor's heart raced. What did David mean? What truth had he been hiding? The night loomed with darkness, weaving secrets and lies together, and Victor realized he was at the center of a storm he couldn't control. The questions buzzed, louder than ever. Who was protecting whom, and what had he truly lost? Victor's heart raced as he faced his brother, the tension in the hallway thickening. David's presence felt like a weight pressing down, the air crackling with illete. Ethan stood beside Sophie, confusion painting his young features, while whispers swirled around them. David, this isn't the time, Victor said, his voice strained. What do you mean Ethan is in danger? We need to get out of here. But David stepped closer, eyes burning with urgency. You have to listen. It's not just the past. It's the present. They'll come for him. They know he's here. Victor shook his head, trying to push the fear away. Who knows? What are you talking about? You've been gone for years. What do you have to do with any of this? Everything! David shot back, frustration spilling from him like a wave. It's all connected. The family, the secrets. You still don't know why she disappeared, do you? A piercing silence followed. Sophie clenched Ethan's hand tighter, her eyes darting between the brothers. Victor, you need to tell him. He deserves to know. The room pulsed with unspoken truths. What is this? Some twisted family reunion? Victor snapped, fear bubbling into anger. What could possibly be worse than losing you both? Before he could finish, a loud thud echoed through the stairwell. Everyone flinched, eyes darting toward the darkened hallway. The noise faded, followed by a faint, low laugh. The kind that sends chills up the spine. It's too late, Victor, a new voice called out. This one was deep and raspy, drawing out each word like a taunt. The figure that emerged from the shadows was cloaked in darkness, face obscured, his presence radiating a sinister energy. "Who are you?" Victor demanded, stepping protectively in front of Ethan. The stranger chuckled softly, a sound that scraped against the nerves. "You've become quite the family man, haven't you? But none of it matters now." He stepped into the light, revealing a face that made Victor's blood run cold. It was a face he recognized all too well, one from the past he wished to forget. "Jason!" Victor breathed, recognition hitting him like a sucker punch. Jason, the man who had torn their lives apart, locked in a battle for power and control that had sent their entire family reeling. The very reason for his wife's silence, the reason she had run away. "Still playing the good father, I see," Jason sneered. "You should have learned by now that it's all a game, a dangerous one." Panic surged as Ethan's grip on Sophie tightened. "What are you talking about?" Victor's thoughts raced. "Why are you here?" He struggled to keep his voice steady, to mask the fear that churned inside him. "I'm here for what's rightfully mine," Jason said coolly. "And what she left behind, your little boy, is a pawn in a much larger game." Suddenly, Sophie's face drained of color. "No, you can't be serious." Victor felt the ground slip beneath him as Jason reached into his coat pocket, pulling out a small device, a remote. "You see, Victor, she never really left, and now she's coming for everything you hold dear." In that moment, the weight of Jason's words crashed down, and the reality shifted. Ethan wasn't just a boy who had found his voice. He was a target, a bargaining chip in a game Victor didn't even know was being played. Victor's heart pounded. A cold realization gripped him. "What do you mean?" His voice wavered, fear mixing with disbelief. "What about Ethan's mother?" Jason smirked, the look in his eyes grim. "Let's just say she's been keeping secrets of her own. Secrets you've been too blind to see." And with that, a wild roar echoed through the hallway. An explosion of chaos exploded in the penthouse behind them. The walls rattled, and dust rained from the ceiling as people screamed and scrambled for safety. Victor's world ignited in flames of uncertainty. Everything he thought he knew fell apart as he turned to Ethan, whose eyes were wide, reflecting pure terror. "Dad, what's happening?" Victor's heart dropped. The night held the weight of 1,000 truths, and he stood on the brink of disaster. What had he brought Ethan into? What was the price of these secrets? The floor shook as the weight of the truth began to collapse around him, and all he could do was reach for Ethan to pull him into the mystery that loomed ever closer. Victor's world began to crumble as he stood there, his mind racing with the chaos unfolding before him. Jason's presence ignited a storm of panic, but the ground shaking beneath their feet drew everyone. More muffled explosions echoed through the stairwell, their intensity rattling the building and sending tremors through Victor's bones. "Get back!" he shouted, instinctively reaching for Ethan and pulling him behind Sophie. Fear clawed at his throat as the realization hit. They were trapped. Suddenly, with a cacophony of sound and fury, the stairwell spilled open. A figure emerged, bursting through the door with frantic energy. It was another woman, breathless and wild-eyed, a face Victor recognized too well. "Clara," he gasped, heart racing. "Ethan's mother, supposedly lost to them forever." "Victor, we need to." Clara's words rushed out like water bursting through a dam. But before she could finish, Jason stepped forward, a smirk twisting his lips. "Look who we have here," he mocked. "Just in time for the family reunion." Ethan's eyes darted between Clara and Victor, confusion knitting his brow, panic tightening the air around them. "Mom?" he whispered, the word breaking on his lips like glass. "Ethan, I'm so—" Clara's voice cracked, but Jason cut her off. "She's not the mother you think she is," Jason shouted, venom dripping from his words. Victor's head spun. What could Jason possibly mean? In that moment, Clara lunged forward, eyes fierce. "No, Jason, stop! You have to understand." As Jason took a step back, a sinister laugh escaped him. "Understand? I think you've been playing house for too long, Clara. They deserve to know the truth." With a flick of his wrist, he pressed a button on his remote. A screen flickered to life on the wall beside them, glowing with urgency. Images flashed. Pictures of Clara, of Victor, of their lives intertwined with shadows lurking in the background. Evidence of a deep-seated conspiracy no one had anticipated. Victor's heart raced, confusion and horror colliding within him. "What is this?" he choked out, watching the betrayal unfold. Then the most shocking image appeared, a document with the headline, "Project Silence." It detailed a web of clandestine operations, linking Victor's family to hostile forces they had never known. Quiet gasps filled the air as the crowd watched, riveted. "This is why I had to disappear," Clara screamed, tears mingling with desperation. "I was trying to protect you both. I had to." "But you didn't," Jason roared, voice piercing the tension like a knife. "You left us. You left him to be a pawn." Ethan stood frozen, the confusion on his face morphing into fear. "What's happening? Why does it say you were working for them?" Victor felt like the ground was giving way beneath his feet. "Clara, you've been lying to me." "No, I was trying to save us," Clara's voice broke. And a sob escaped her as she reached for Ethan. "I love you." The weight of those words hung in the air, but Victor couldn't grasp them. His focus shifted from Clara to the screen. Jason grinned, waiting to pour salt in the wound. "You should thank me for this revelation. It's time you knew what family you truly belong to." Suddenly, the power flickered. The lights dimmed, and the images on the screen glitched. Shadows shifted in the hallway as an ominous presence loomed closer, and the air crackled with tension. Victor's heart raced. "We need to leave now," he yelled. But the threat seemed to pulse all around him. Then, without warning, Ethan turned to Jason, confusion turning into something deeper. "So, you're saying it's all a game?" A dangerous game, but what if I'm not a pawn? What if I'm the queen? Gasps echoed through the crowd, Victor's heart pounding in disbelief. It was a bold move, one full of a courage he hadn't seen before. But what did it mean? How deep did the betrayal run? What had Ethan just uncovered? The crowd fell silent. All eyes were on Ethan, and the lines of the unfolding drama shifted once again. The stakes were higher than they could have ever imagined. What secrets were still veiled beneath the surface? Victor's mind raced. The night was just beginning, and one question loomed heavy. Who were they really? And what price would they have to pay to know the truth? The tension in the hallway throbbed, every heartbeat matching the chaotic rhythm of confusion. Ethan stood tall, defiance lighting up his young face as he faced Jason. What if I'm not a pawn? What if I'm the queen? Victor felt a swell of pride mixed with fear. His son was breaking free, but this was not the moment to be brave. Jason's smirk only deepened. "You have no idea what kind of game you're playing, kid," he sneered. "You'll soon learn. Your mother was never supposed to be involved." The crowd fell silent, eyes darting between the brothers, waiting. Clara took a step forward, heart pounding. "I did what I had to do to protect Ethan." Her voice shook with urgency. The threats were real. Our lives were in danger. But suddenly, the lights flickered again. The screen flashed images, revealing a web of shadows that turned the familiar into the sinister. Victor reached for Ethan, desperate to pull him closer, to shield him. "We need to leave now." But just as he turned, a violent crash echoed through the penthouse, rattling the walls. Screams erupted as the door burst open. More men in dark suits, faces masked, their presence like a storm. "Get out!" Victor shouted, adrenaline coursing through him as panic swept through the crowd. Chaos ruled the space, bodies pushing against one another in a frantic rush to escape. "Mom!" Ethan cried, fear spilling from his voice as he swung his head around. The world twisted. Everything spun out of control. "Stay close." Victor grabbed Ethan's arm, but before they could bolt, Jason stepped into their path, unyielding. "You really think you can protect him?" His words dripped with malice. "You're all in way over your heads." Then Clara shouted, "No, Jason, you can't do this!" But as she reached out, Jason flicked his remote again. The screen lit up, displaying one final image that gripped Victor's heart. It was a photo of Clara, but this time she was not alone. Beside her stood a tall man, and Victor's breath caught in his throat. The man looked exactly like Ethan. Ethan's voice broke through the chaos. "What is that?" It was a mirror image, one that drove a stake through Victor's heart. Clara turned pale, eyes wide. "No, it can't be. What does it mean?" Victor's voice trembled. "Tell me!" Panic wrapped tighter around him like a vice. Jason stepped closer, a cruel smile playing at the corners of his lips. It means there's more to this family than you realize. Clara wasn't alone, and neither is Ethan. They have a father you never knew about. Gasps erupted, disbelief rippling through those witnesses. The air thickened with betrayal. Ethan searched Clara's face, confusion deepening into something darker. Who is he? Victor felt his world fracturing. What are you talking about? He could hardly breathe, heart racing. What are you hiding? Before Jason could answer, a loud crash echoed again, this time from behind the crowd. Without warning, the door splintered. A tall figure burst through, a flash of authority. It was an officer, a policeman, but not one Victor expected. "Step back," the officer yelled, brandishing a badge. "Everyone, stand down." The crowd froze, a mass of stunned faces, hearts falling silent with confusion. But for Victor, everything hinged on the next moment. "Clara," he bellowed, desperation lacing his tone. "Is this true? Did you have another family, another life?" Tears streamed down Clara's face. "I didn't know. If I had, I never—" Suddenly the masked men shifted, and chaos erupted anew as they lunged toward Clara. "Protect her!" Jason shouted, but a blinding flash swept through the room. Lights flared in chaotic bursts, blinding everyone. In the turmoil, with the crowd receding into shadows, Ethan's voice broke through, fearful and strong. "Mom, where are you?" But the room shifted again, and Victor felt the world fall away. What had just happened? What secrets lay in the darkness? And as the smoke cleared, the truth remained obscured, deeper than he ever imagined. The night was far from over, and the answers hung heavy in the air. Who truly were they? And what price would they pay to find out? Everyone waited, hearts pounding, on the edge of an unraveling thread. The night was a blur of panic as the chaos began to settle. The screams still echoed in Victor's ears, but the chaos didn't relent. Just when he thought it couldn't become any more confusing, he felt a sudden wave sweep through the crowd. A woman, the officer, stood firm in the doorway. She raised her hands to calm everyone, but Victor's heart was racing, the air heavy with tension. "Everyone, stay where you are," she shouted. The authoritative tone cut through the noise, and for a moment, silence followed. But it was only a moment. Ethan squeezed Victor's arm, eyes bright with fear, as he clung to the familiar as if it would protect him from the storm. "What's happening, Dad?" Victor wanted to reassure him, to pull him close and shield him from whatever was unfolding. "Just hold tight, Ethan. It'll be okay," he whispered, though doubt gnawed at his insides. The officer glanced at Clara, then back at Jason, who seemed to thrive on the chaos. "You're under arrest, Jason. This ends now." Victor's stomach lurched, his breath hitching. "What do you mean? What is going on?" But Jason laughed, the kind of laugh that sent chills up Victor's spine. "You think you can control this? You think it ends here? Suddenly, a more monstrous burst of energy erupted when Jason revealed a device, something shining and lethal. Before Victor could fully comprehend, Jason pressed a button, and in a flash, the lights went out. Darkness consumed everything around them, followed by a deafening explosion of sound. Glass shattering, smoke filling the space, shadows dancing like wild spirits. "Ethan!" Victor shouted, but as he reached for his son, the sudden shift threw him off balance. The shadows clashed, and a haze enveloped them, swallowing up the people he loved. Then, amid the chaos, in the darkness, a familiar voice broke through. "Victor!" Clara's voice pierced the noise, but it felt distant. "You have to know the truth. Ethan isn't." But before she could finish, the sound of glass shattered, and chaos morphed into something altogether different. A loud roar surged through the building, fierce and consuming, as if the walls themselves were alive. Victor stumbled. "What are you saying? What about Ethan?" And then, just when the chaos reached its peak, the lights flickered back on. A thin woman stood at the door, her face pale and taut. The crowd murmured amongst one another as confusion reigned. The woman raised her hands. "Stop!" Victor's heart dropped. He recognized her. It was Lisa, a family friend from years past. But what was she doing here? The air grew thick with tension. "I have something to show you," she shouted, her voice trembling. She rushed forward, pushing through the crowd, holding a file tightly to her chest. "What do you mean?" Victor demanded, desperation creeping into his voice. Lisa's eyes found Ethan, and he gasped, wide-eyed. "Ethan, I'm sorry. You don't know who you really are." The crowd was silent, drawn into Lisa's gaze. "I was there, Victor. I was there the night everything changed," she said, a deep pain echoing in her words. "What are you talking about?" Victor demanded, jaw taut. Clara stepped forward, dread washing over her face. "Lisa, don't!" But Lisa's voice grew strong, each word ringing out like a death knell. "Because the baby switch, it was real. Ethan isn't your son." Victor's heart slammed against his ribs. The world twisted and turned. A curtain ripped away to reveal a crushing truth he never imagined. All at once, everything shattered. The ties that bound their family, the secrets, the lies, echoed around him. And in that moment, the real question emerged. If Ethan isn't my son, then who am I really protecting? The world spun, leaving Victor gasping in the shadows. A storm, swirling in the remnants of lost truths. Victor stood frozen, the revelation crashing over him like a tidal wave. Ethan isn't my son. The words echoed in his mind, a haunting refrain that wouldn't let go. Shadows shifted. People held their breaths. But more than anything, the weight of truth pressed down on Victor's chest like a heavy stone. "Who are you, really?" Ethan asked, voice trembling. He seemed smaller, lost in the swirling chaos. Clara stepped forward, desperation in her eyes. I did it to protect you, to protect both of you. But Victor felt ice gripped his heart. Protect us? By lying? The truth hung thick between them, each man's answer a weapon. Lisa shuffled closer, her voice barely a whisper. I know the truth, Victor. Ethan is special, like a key. A key? Victor echoed, bewildered. A key to what? Before anyone could answer, a loud crash tore through the atmosphere. The room quaked with chaos as the front doors exploded inward, sending shards of splintered wood flying like shrapnel. A figure stormed in, her dark hair wild, eyes filled with purpose. Stop, she yelled, raising a hand. Claire froze, recognition dawning in her expression. Rebecca? The name hung in the air, a ghost from Victor's past. But before anyone could process it, she moved through the crowd, urgency driving her forward. I've been looking for you, she shouted at Ethan. Voice cracking. Ethan's eyes widened. Who are you? I'm your other mother, Rebecca responded, breathless. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Silence swallowed the room. No, that's impossible, Victor gasped, heart racing. Confusion surged through him like a thunderstorm. You can't be! He's my son! No, Victor, Rebecca insisted, her gaze fierce. I gave birth to him! He's my son, too! Victor felt the walls close in, every pore screaming in disbelief. What are you saying? All this time? The weight of revelations bore down on Ethan like a crushing fog. Is it true, Mom? He asked, looking at Clara with wide eyes. Because if she's my other mom, then... Ethan's voice trailed off, the shock hanging in the space between them like a choking miasma. Victor, she's telling the truth. Clara's voice quaked, eyes brimming with unshed tears. We had an agreement to keep us safe. But why? Why now? Victor didn't know who to trust, anger and betrayal coursing through him. Was there a reason? Who kept what hidden? Rebecca stepped closer, desperation etched in her expression. Because there are more people looking for him, more enemies who want to control him because he... Suddenly, the lights flickered again, plunging the room into darkness for a heartbeat. The crowd's murmurs turned to panic, people shoving toward the exit, fear edging into chaos. Let me speak, Rebecca cried, but her plea fell into the fray. Just then, a loud bang resonated from the hallway, and a figure crashed through the door like a knife through air. Another officer, weapon drawn, face grim. What's going on here? He barked, scanning the chaos. Victor's heart raced. He felt the ground shift beneath him. The fabric of their lives fraying faster than he could grasp. He needed answers, but the atmosphere crackled. Everyone, stay down, the officer shouted. A new tension sizzled through the air, and Victor felt the change in the room, as if a storm was brewing. Then it happened. In a flash, a talon-like hand opened a device, a whirling light illuminating a face, Victor never thought he'd see again. His mother. "Victor!" she shouted, her voice shaking. He stumbled back, every ounce of anger and confusion crashing down. "You? Time's running out," she yelled. "We don't have long. You must trust me." The revelation hung heavy in the air. Victor's heart thundered. Silence wrapped around him, uncertainty swirling with fear. You've been alive?" His thoughts raced, a tempest driving him to question everything. "Why now?" "What do you know?" As she stepped forward, their eyes locked, her voice lowered, thick with urgency. "You're all in danger. I've come to help, but only if you believe. Believe in a truth that will break you." The room shifted, the boundaries of loyalty tearing apart, as every heart waited on the razor-thin line between trust and betrayal. What truth could be so devastating? What did she know that would change everything? Would it push them further apart, or bind them together in a way they never expected? The night was now a tapestry of secrets, woven tighter than before, and one question lingered desperately. Would they survive the unraveling? The night hung heavy with confusion. Victor struggled to take in everything his mother had just revealed. "You're my mother?" The words tasted strange in his mouth. "You've been alive all this time?" "I'm here to help you, Victor," she pleaded. "And Ethan, he's important, more than you understand." Before he could gather his thoughts, the lights flickered again, and then they went out completely. The room plunged into darkness. Heart pounding, Victor felt an icy grip of fear. "Mom?" Ethan's voice quivered, but it was swallowed by the chaos that ensued. Panic swept through the crowd. Victor sensed bodies shifting, bumping against him in confusion. He struggled to find Ethan in the suffocating blackness, his breath quickening. "Stay close, buddy." Victor called out, reaching into the void. But an urgent, terrified whisper rose above the noise. It was Clara. "Victor, we need to go!" Just then, a blaring siren echoed from outside, shaking the walls. A crushing realization that danger was closing in hit Victor like a punch. Moments later, a blinding light flashed, illuminating the room again. When the light steadied, the chaotic scene, people clamoring for the exit, Jason lurking like a predator, came into full view. But then, something shifted. Victor blinked, trying to process what he saw. Standing in the doorway was a figure, silhouetted against the harsh light. But it wasn't just any figure. It was a woman he recognized. A figure he thought he'd never see again. "Isabel," he gasped, his mind racing. The woman who had been lost to them, his childhood friend who knew far too many secrets. "What are you doing here?" Isabel's presence radiated urgency. "Victor, listen to me. I need to tell you the truth." "What truth?" Victor shouted over the din. "Everyone's lying. What can you add?" His heart raced, fear coiling tightly in his chest. "They're coming for Ethan. You have to understand." Her voice cracked, panic lacing her words. "You all think you're safe, but you have no idea." A loud crash ruptured her words. The back door burst open with a force that sent everyone stumbling. A group of armed men stormed in, their faces masked. More shadows from a past Victor never wanted to revisit. Isabel shouted, "Get down!" The crowd shrieked. Chaos erupted, and bodies scrambled. Victor turned instinctively, shielded Ethan with his body. "Dad!" Ethan cried, his voice drowning in the chaos. But then Isabel's eyes widened. "No, not this." She lunged toward a figure who had stepped forward. Jason. In an instant, she leaped, tackling him to the ground with a force unseen. Victor watched, bewildered. "What are you doing?" "It's not him you need to worry about," Isabel yelled, struggling. "It's what he's hiding." In that second, Jason's sneer faltered. "Stop! You don't know what you're doing, Isabel!" With a swift move, Jason flipped them over, but Isabel reached into her pocket and pulled out a small flash drive. "You need this. Everything is on here. The truth that will change everything." Before Victor could react, a flash of light erupted from the device. A video began playing on the wall, a hidden recording from a past meeting, faces shrouded in darkness, discussing the very project that had cost Victor his peace. Victor's mind raced. What had been hidden? The conspiracies, the lies, the threads binding them together, flashed before his eyes. But then something else hit him. An unexpected twist, more shocking than any revelation. Among the faces was one he recognized all too well. "No," Victor gasped, disbelief coursing through him. It was Clara. In the recording, she spoke of a plan that involved Ethan. "He's not just valuable, he's essential to our survival," Clara said, her voice steady, pushing every family bond to the edge. "What are you saying?" Victor felt the world tip under his feet. What could you possibly? And then the video cut to black. Silence swept over the crowd. Every ear strained to hear a heartbeat in the stillness, and all that could be heard was the pounding of Victor's heart. "Is this what you've been hiding?" But then the back wall erupted in a burst of flames, scorching heat engulfing the room. "Run!" Isabel screamed, the siren blaring louder, echoing through their minds. The shape of their lives twisted in the flames. The bonds they fought were unbreakable, smoldering to ash. In the midst of the chaos, a harrowing question lingered in the air. Who were they really protecting? And would they survive the unveiling of more hidden truths? The flames licked the walls, a furious reminder of the chaos that surrounded them. Victor's heart pounded as he pushed past the scrambling crowd, guiding Ethan through the chaos. "Stay close," he shouted, eyes darting to Clara and Isabel, who struggled to fend off the masked men. "Go," Isabel urged, wrestling against Jason. In a heartbeat, she found a glimmer of hope, shoving the flash drive into Victor's trembling hand. "Understand what you're up against. It's all on there." Victor clutched the device, every heartbeat echoing with fear and disbelief. Ethan's wide eyes searched his face. "Dad, what do we do?" "Trust me," Victor gasped. He couldn't let fear take hold. He felt the tightness in his chest. They needed to escape. With a push, They reached the nearest exit, the heat behind them rising like a beast ready to strike. The sirens wailed outside, growing louder. Suddenly, the door exploded open. A surge of fresh air crashed against them as the blazing inferno chased closely at their heels. "Run!" Clara screamed. But before they could make a move, the officer turned, aiming at the masked intruders storming in. "What's happening here?" he shouted, courage coursing through him as he drew his weapon. Jason snarled, "You don't get to interfere." He lunged forward, an animal in frenzy. But then Rebecca sprang into action. "Watch out!" She pushed forward to block Jason, saving the officer just in time. "This isn't about you, Jason. It never was." Amidst the clash of bodies, Victor felt the weight of his choices. "Ethan, don't look back," he growled, spurring them on as they burst through the hallway and into the cool night air. They stumbled out into the street, the chaos trailing behind like a shadow. The fire raged, illuminating the darkening sky. People were shouting, running from the scene, as sirens wailed in the distance. "What just happened?" Ethan whispered, breathless. Victor knelt beside him, pulling him close. "I don't know, but we'll figure this out together." The hope flickered in his heart, like the flames behind them. Suddenly, Clara emerged through the smoke, desperation written across her face. "We have to go back," she yelled, panic tightening her throat. "I can't leave them." "No," Victor shouted, gripping her arm. "Not now. We need to save ourselves first. We can't help anyone if we're caught in this mess." Behind them, the sounds of conflict continued, wrapping around them like a forlorn symphony, a reminder that there were truths still hidden. Then, from the shadows, Isabel approached with her determined stride. "The truth isn't just about you or Ethan, Victor," she said, voice raw with emotion. "It's about all of us. We can't escape this. Not yet." Victor felt a lump rise in his throat. But where do we go from here? Everything we knew was a lie. "Now we uncover the truth," Isabel insisted, a fierce glimmer in her eyes. "We'll face it together." In that fraught moment, amidst the chaos, illumination hit Victor. They were no longer alone. They had each other, tied together by the tangled threads of truth. "Let's figure this out," Victor said, heart steadying. "We keep moving. We protect Ethan." As they retreated, the world remained a riddle. They would have to discover who they really were and what they'd become. Fire might blaze behind them. The shadows might hold secrets. But hope flourished in the bonds they'd forged. And amid fear and uncertainty, questions lingered. What awaited them in the shadows? What secrets would the flash drive reveal? With determination, they pressed on, a family forged in the fire of chaos, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Now, if you've loved this thrilling ride, you must subscribe now. Don't wait another second. Click that like button to feed the algorithm. You have to flood the comments with your reactions and theories about what just happened, and share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to know how this ends. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel with these actions. Let's keep the momentum going.